Welcome to the Caregivers Lounge, where we dive into the laughter, love, and lessons of caregiving. Because let's be real, this journey is unpredictable. I'm Shaunte Newby, your host, and whether you're caring for aging parents, deep in the caregiving trenches, just starting out, or simply curious about this world, you found the right place. Here, we share stories, swap insights, and remind each other that no one has to do this alone. So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's unwind together. And don't forget to hit subscribe and follow the Caregivers Lounge wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Welcome to another episode of the Caregivers Lounge. You know that this is the space where we keep it real about the caregiving journey. We uplift, we support, and we share the truths that come with this role. I'm your host, Shaunte Newby, and today we're diving into the 4 stages of caregiving. Because let's be honest, there are levels to this. From light assistance to full-time support, caregiving evolves, and so do we. So whether you're just stepping into this, or deep in the trenches, this episode is here to guide you, reassure you, and remind you that you are not alone. So let's get into it. Where are you in the journey of these 4 stages? So when people hear caregiving, they are often picturing full-time, hands-on support. You move in with your loved one, you're managing their medications, you're handling daily needs. But caregiving isn't just one thing. It's a journey that unfolds in stages, and there are actually different levels to it. I found a resource online because, I love to be able to articulate this stuff and sound a little extra professional. But I found a resource online called the Practical Caregivers Guides. So I'm going to be referring to my notes as I go through each of the levels. With this guide, it breaks down caregiving into 4 distinct phases that help us understand where we are and what's ahead. Let's start with level 1. They call it basic care, but I'm going to call it level 1 for the sake of this conversation and how we may talk about it going forward. So in this area, this is usually the light assistance, and they say daily tasks. I'm thinking any task, like grocery shopping and transportation. So an example is maybe you're helping a loved one run errands, making sure that they have what they need while still allowing them to keep their independence. You're stepping in, but in a way that lets them lead or let them think they're leading. And while I am doing a lot of caregiving for my dad, I want to add my mom into this conversation too. She is very independent, and I'll get into that, like how independent she is, but she is very independent. But still, there's some things that they require my assistance just to make sure it's done right, or I feel better knowing that I'm there. For instance, online, I have to tell you, social media, anything technology, any kind of business you have to take care of, it seems like these things are not designed for senior level people. And by that, I'll just give you an example. You log in with your password that you struggle to remember. You wrote it down somewhere, you put it in your phone. Success, you have the password, and then it's like, hey, check your phone for a text message, or check your email, and this expires in 10 minutes, or do you have access to that email? These processes are so complicated. So I know I went a little bit on a tangent, but that's an example of you having to help a loved one possibly. And somehow, because I did IT when I was in undergrad, I became tech support for everybody, but we'll save that for another conversation. So that, folks, is basic care to me, right? Just stepping in, helping with certain tasks, stepping in when you're needed. The next level they talk about, we'll call it level 2. They call it intermediate care. And in this level, it's more hands-on support. So they include examples like preparing meals and medical coordination. So in this, an example that comes to mind is you might suddenly find yourself managing medications, tracking doctor's appointments, figuring out the best way to prepare meals that fit their health needs. And it's not just lending a hand, it's actually taking on the real responsibility that wasn't part of your life before. So now you have more responsibilities for another adult in most cases. I like to think that in this particular area, I definitely do a lot of this What's great though is my dad is very independent. He cooks for himself. He takes care of himself, but I just manage aspects of his life. So I manage his finances, I manage his medications, and we'll get into that when we talk about how to deal with different phases, and I'll share a couple of tips. So, level 3 is advanced care. Now, this is the caregiving that most people think about when they hear the term caregiving. This is pretty much full time caregiving. This is managing their needs every day and their health concerns. If your loved one's needs have grown, maybe you've moved in or they moved in with you, you've rearranged your schedule, and you've become their primary support system. It's not easy, but you do show up every day balancing love and exhaustion. Now, what's interesting about this level to me and making it personal is that when taking care of my dad, he has become my responsibility. At least I take him as my responsibility. I have to make sure his taxes are done. I have to make sure he has his medications. I have rearranged my schedule to accommodate things for him, like his doctor's appointments and stuff. Like literally, I have a calendar with all of his appointments. But yes, again, we'll get into some examples. So, level 4, this one is definitely difficult to discuss, but we know it's necessary. They call this phase the end of life care. And in this phase, they say it's providing comfort and dignity in a loved one's final chapter. So, this is an example of sitting beside them, holding their hand, playing their favorite song, or just making sure they feel safe and loved. These moments are heavy, but they are also sacred. And I also know these are moments that you will never forget. I can't talk too much to that level on a personal basis, but I do know that there are people who have experienced that. And one day I hope to bring them on here. We can have a conversation about that when they're ready. Just know that each stage comes with its own challenges, emotions, and responsibilities. But knowing where you are in this journey can help you prepare and find the right support. Now, as I read through all of these, I feel like I'm a combination of basic and intermediate. So my dad lives alone, as I mentioned, and I manage his life for the most part. His doctor's appointments, his medications, his house appointments. Just recently, I had to schedule service for the air conditioner a couple weeks ago, and now the stove. So it's like his life is my life right now. Now let's get into how to navigate these different stages. Okay. Let's talk about how to adapt as the caregiving levels intensify. So, when you're in basic care, it's recommended to encourage independence while offering a helping hand. In this area, you think about how you can support without taking over or looking like you're taking over. So, one example I can share, I mentioned my dad's medications. Ultimately, he's responsible for taking them. But there are a few things that I've put in place to help him. I, one, have organized his pills in those weekly containers that are like AM, PM, Monday or Sunday through Saturday. I do about 4 of them. So it's like I'm preparing his medications 1 month at a time. So it doesn't look like I have to do it every week. So again, sense of independence. He just has the responsibility of getting the medications and taking them from those containers. In addition to that, I put alarms on his phone. He has 2 alarms on his phone. One goes off at 9 in the morning and one goes off at 9 in the evening. And in those alarms, it actually specifies the medications names and everything, but he knows to take the ones on the left side in the morning and the ones on the right side at night. So that's just an example of him actually taking the medicine. Like I'm not standing there like, take your medicine. So sense of independence. On that next level, level 2 in the intermediate care, seems like communication is key and staying organized and tracking your medical needs or their medical needs rather. So the question to ask is what systems can help you stay on top of everything? One thing that I can share is a calendar. I actually created a Gmail account for my dad way before I actually started taking care of him and being responsible for him. But I created this Gmail account for him. It's on my phone, it's on his phone, and it has a calendar. So I'm actually able to update things on my phone, and he gets to see certain appointments, or if there's a warning like, hey, do not eat anything before this appointment. And I have a story about that in one episode I will share later on how that actually worked for me. But this is another example of helping him with his independence. And he even gets reminders for birthdays, because one of the things he complains about is he's like, I don't remember anyone's birthday and I'm so sorry. He's so apologetic. But when his calendar pops up, the birthday alert comes up, and he actually will call people when he sees the alert. So that makes him feel pretty good that he's able to call and sing happy birthday. And he still plays the joke where he calls me on my birthday and says it's his birthday, but it's just our little inside joke. So in advanced care, this is important to lean on resources. You do not have to do it alone. So then it's time to start thinking about, well, who can I ask for help? Is it a friend, a support group? I actually do some of this now, and I will admit this is something that I am working on still as far as asking for help, because I feel like I don't want to be a burden on people, but I see that some people do want to help and support. And recently my dad had cataract surgery, and to help me out, my sister cooked meals for him. Like, she actually cooked several meals in those containers, and we would drop it off on Sunday, and it lasts several days. Of course, he complained. He loved the food, but my dad has been on this health journey, and he's lost like 50 or 60 pounds. And he's like, I don't want to gain all this weight from all this good food. But again, I utilized my sister. She offered it, and cooking is in her ministry. Like, I know how to cook. She just loves it more than I do. And then there was this one time I actually had to call a friend to pick my dad up because he dropped his car off somewhere. And I don't know where I was. I think I was living 2.5 hours away at that time. And a friend of mine picked him up for me to get him home because I was so worried about him walking in the hot sun. So definitely leverage your network, have your go-to people. I have several now. I've had to use it. I've had to call people to go knock on his door if I happen to be out of town, or even if I'm just not able to get down to his house quickly. People check on him for me. So definitely call people. They want to help. Most of them do. So in this last phase, the end of life care, and it's interesting because I get emotional thinking about it, but it's still something we need to talk about it. So in this area, it's suggested to focus on comfort, your presence, and honoring your loved one's wishes. These moments will stay with you. And so, how do you want them to feel? Again, I don't have any lived experience with this, and I will try to get some guests on here that do. But I will say this phase made me think about something I did. It was uncomfortable, but it was necessary. We have to have those conversations with our loved ones about their wishes, right? And I know it's an awkward time, but usually it comes up, or it came up, when another person has passed away. And I'm like, well, so what do you want us to do for you? And again, awkward, uncomfortable, but it's like the event itself gave you a gateway to actually bring it up. So I don't know if anyone needs that or not, but definitely have that conversation if you can. If you want to fulfill their wishes when they're in the afterlife, ask them, like, what do you want? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? Like, just ask them. Okay. So, as I think about all the suggestions and recommendations, one thing that I want to make sure we say here and every time we get the opportunity to, no matter where you are with the levels that you're doing or with the level that you're on in caregiving, self care is non negotiable. You can't pour from an empty cup. So, find moments of self care. We'll definitely share some examples on that and what can be done, and it doesn't have to be extravagant. Self care can come in all forms. So, if any of this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Caregiving is tough, but you know what? It's also a profound act of love. I'd love to hear from you. So, what stage do you think you're in right now? Drop a comment or message me. I read every single one of them. Let's keep this conversation going. I know you don't want to just hear from me. I want to hear from you too. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs it. And remember, come close to the speaker. Come close to the screen if you're watching on YouTube. You are doing an incredible job, okay? If no one has told you, you are doing an incredible job. You're doing a job that not too many get to do, and you're doing it well. You're doing the best you can. So, caregiving is a journey with many twists and turns, and we're all in different phases. So, again, I want to ask you, what stage do you think you're in right now? Drop a comment or message me. Like I said, I read every single one of them. Let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, take care. And you can also send an email to Caregivers Lounge at iCloud.com.